Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Business Spotlight interview series. Today it is my pleasure to have Hammy with me. Hammy is Director of MamaBobo Africa, which has both a grocery store and a restaurant here in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Hammy, delighted you could join us. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. I'm very well, thanks. Look, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to share with us and with our community of what you have learned in business. So why don't you share with us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for?
Yeah, my name is Hammy, or some people know me as my nickname Bobo. So that's the Bobo in the Mama Bobo. So Mama Bobo is my mother. So my mom, sorry, my mom started this quite a few years ago, just on a much sort of smaller scale, more charity and community focused. And then I decided to sort of take over about four years ago. And that was with the grocery store initially. And we just wanted to see, is there something that there was a big gap in the market at that point. There was only really one African store in Belfast, or I would even say in Northern Ireland. And we felt that they were falling short in quite a lot of areas. So
Yeah.
decided to see, let's just honestly, it was just a bit of a trial. Let's just see if it was going to be a viable business and also it wasn't something I did full time. Up until last year, my brothers were involved quite a lot. Whilst I worked, everyone sort of worked full time, and then we just sort of shuttled. And then when the business started growing and being on a bigger scale, decided to come into it full time.
Fantastic. So who's your ideal customer then?
Well, ideal customer, I think you want to say everybody's your
Yeah,
customer,
yeah,
the more the merrier. But ideally, well, when I look at both businesses, so like one is a grocery store, and that is targeting predominantly African people. And I would even because Africa is a huge continent, so that's still broad in itself. So I would even say predominantly West African is what we're targeting. So I
yeah.
was born in Nigeria, so I've got Nigerian heritage. So we are targeting mostly Nigerian products we have in there, but that also covers for Ghanaians, it covers for Cameroonians, Ivory Coast, but we do have products for Zimbabweans and South Africans as well. But that is like I said, that will be sort of 90%, 95% of our client base. But we do have people from lots of countries coming in to buy, especially stuff like the seasoning. We've got Nigerian Fanta, we've got some snacks in there. So it's quite a niche customer target, but it can broaden. The restaurant is a little bit more broad. So the restaurant is fully Nigerian restaurant, but again, so I say maybe what 50-60% of our customers are definitely going to be Nigerian, but we do also have a lot of other countries again from West Africa. But with the restaurant, we have a lot more Belfast and Irish people. So
Sure.
you could even almost say it's almost like a 50-50 or 60-40 in favor of Nigerians. So we have a lot of people, which has been a great blessing and a great surprise to us, coming in and trying the food out for the first time. And then we have a lot of regular people now coming into now Nigerian food. And that's the whole aim of the game is to make it's not just to be Nigerian food, but it's just to be food that people want to eat and love.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's something about Belfast that they have so many different cultural type restaurants. You can experience so many foods from across the world, just right here in our home city.
Yeah.
So really appreciate that. Tell me a wee bit about where you're located because I'm bound to make a visit.
Yeah, we the grocery store is located on the Lisbon Road. So I believe we've got quite good locations for both. So on the Lisbon Road, just before Tate's Avenue,
Yes.
coming from city center, opposite, there's a bar called Cuckoo. That's quite popular. People in there. We're right opposite that. And then the restaurant is on the Omo Road. So if you're coming from city center, we're just on past the bridge,
Yeah.
opposite Rosario Plainfields near Pavilion Bar. So they're both very good locations, very easy for people to get to, whether you're traveling by car or traveling by bus. We've got bus stops right outside both of them.
Fantastic. Really great. So what's been your biggest learning as being running a family business?
There's been a lot of learnings. So to give a bit of context. So like I said, I've recently become full-time in this, now running two businesses. I'm 28. So every day is a learning. So I'm not exactly backed by like loads of knowledge. Like it's every single day I'm having to figure it out. But speaking of it, I think initially I thought my answer would be different for this, but I think the biggest learning for me is I'm probably for it, you don't have to have all the right answers in order to start something, or you don't have to have all the knowledge up front. As long as you've got sort of an idea and then you just sort of figure it out as you go along. So for me, that has been a big lesson where a lot of times big ideas like the restaurant has been something that's been in the works for a lot of years, but I was like, I don't know anything about opening a restaurant. Why on earth would someone like me open a restaurant? What do I know? Whereas when I sort of changed my mentality, it was like, right, I don't know anything about opening up a restaurant, but can I start off with just looking for a location? Then after that is can you start off with building a menu and building the recipes? Okay, then can we start off with hiring some people and decorating the restaurant? And it just was just step by step, step by step. So
Yeah,
that's sort of what I try to carry across both businesses now is especially when something is so big and it can look so scary, it's just start and then as you go along, just try and figure it out. So seems to
sure.
be working so far.
Well done. Great. Step by step and continually grow. So what's been the biggest issue that you've had to overcome so far?
lots of lots of issues. I think maybe some of my answers might be different though because I'm still very much new in this. So it's I think the biggest issue maybe I would say a couple of things. So I think one is always employees. I think is always an issue. So we've kind of got that good and bad in the sense that I've got great relationships with my staff and it's sort of both businesses are able to sort of run without me, but that took a long time to be able to get there. So it's tough trying to find the balance. Sometimes I've found that sometimes we're understaffed, sometimes we're overstaffed, and it's trying to find that delicate balance because I don't want to overwork the staff and then I hire more. And then when you hire more, then you're like, crap, then it's payday and I've all this money is gotta go out and then you've got to reduce me. So it's trying to find that delicate balance in between how can we be appropriately staffed where obviously staff are working hard and doing the best, but they're also not being overrun. And we've got
Sure.
staff with students, we've got staff with our parents, and obviously a lot of my family are involved as well. So
Yeah.
you don't want to overburden anyone. So that's one challenge. And I'd say the other challenge I've maybe had is trying to give my equal all to both businesses.
Okay. Yeah.
Something that I've really struggled with, like I said, because this is all pretty new. So when the restaurant obviously was starting last year, majority of my attention went on the restaurant getting up and running. And sometimes you then took your eye off the ball a bit on the grocery store. So that sort of affected sales and competitors came in around the same time. So you start reducing there and the standards. I'm very big on standards. So standards sort of dropped. It's not even really about sales sometimes, but our standards and our level of quality that we're offering customers
Yeah.
dropped. So then I've had to sort of shift my attention now to the grocery store. But now I'm trying to, while the standards is now increasing there, I'm now making sure those high standards at the restaurant doesn't then slip. So that's something I still really struggle with in terms of how to manage both.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally understandable. And that's great sharing for anybody who's juggling lots of plates and maybe has a couple of businesses or a portfolio. So what during all of this, what have you learned about yourself?
I think I've learned that I'm capable of achieving much more than I thought.
Yeah.
I never envisioned I'd be in this position, to be honest. Like four years ago when COVID hit, like I was made redundant. I was living in London at the time when COVID hit. I was coming home for 2 weeks during COVID.
Yes.
Being here for like 2 years. So um at that point in life, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And to be honest, I kind of accepted that I wouldn't achieve very much. And I was so to have been in this position is not something I envisioned at all. So it's something that I'm definitely very, very grateful for. And now trying to push on even more
Yeah.
from where I am and try and yeah, it's almost trying to be the first to achieve quite a lot. And obviously, as a black person, as an African person, you're trying to really pave the way for others because
Yeah.
to be honest, you grow up and I don't know if it's society conditioning, and sometimes it is people telling you you don't really believe you can do much whilst you're in this country. So
Mm.
I've been here for 18 years, and I know what we faced and the struggles and the racism we faced when we first moved, and
Yeah.
when you now think now we have lots of people from Belfast coming into a Nigerian restaurant. For
Yeah.
me, it's a massive full circle moment. So you don't really believe you'll ever, especially in the business world, like who am I to now come in Northern Ireland and create a business? It's not something I envisioned. And I can sometimes I think it's like a joke that's gonna just be taken away, honestly. It's like someone's gonna pull the rug from me at any point. But I'm definitely very grateful and so count my blessings every day. And
Yeah.
hopefully in the next year you'll even grow into to bigger heights.
Yes, indeed. Fantastic. Uh, every success going forwards. So, do you have anybody that you look up to or inspired you in business?
Um, I think when you say the word look up to, yes, but when you say business, maybe twisted. But I think it's gonna sound a very cliche answer, but I look up to my mom quite a lot. My mom's
Yeah.
really my role model, my inspiration, and she helps out a lot in the business, and she's very very active. And without like I never really share our personal story, which we probably should a lot more. But my mom moved here with us 18 years ago. I was 10, my little brother was 6, and then I had a sister who had a severe disability. So that was the reason why we moved
Yeah.
to get her medical help. So we knew nobody. We know
Yeah.
not so in Belfast, and you can imagine a black family turning up 18 years ago. My mom, she had a great job in Nigeria. She was a very high up at the main university in Lagos, which Lagos is the main city in,
Yes. Yeah.
and she left or she had businesses as well. She left all that behind and
Wow.
sacrificed everything to for us, for my sister and for us as well. And now we've got if I remove myself from it, we're in the situation where obviously now running a business. I went to Glasgow University, I went to Methody. My little brother also went to Methody, then he went to Newcastle University, and he's a few months away from being a chartered accountant. It's
Fantastic.
yeah, it's and obviously up close, I've really seen the sacrifices she's made, and
Yeah.
because of the stress of my sister and a lot of with that having some with physical disability, it's affected her health a lot now. So I've
Yes.
really seen her sort of be affected over the last few years. So a lot of my motivation and the reason why I work as hard as I do is to be able to give back, and it's the reason why that the name MamaBobo will never
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
So and I would even say in business as well. She knows a lot about business as well. You know, she's extremely resilient. She's the most resilient person I know, which you need in business. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, like, I'm new to this game. I want to give up many times. I want to give up. So I sort of look at her as my source of courage and inspiration, and she's very good at just keep going.
That's wonderful. I love it when people refer to somebody else in their family who has been an inspiration to them. Because so often people just maybe use a superstar's name or someone everybody knows from the media. And to hear that story of what you guys came through in coming across to Belfast, it's just touches your heart, and so glad that you guys have been able to have such a success story. I went to university in Scotland as well, so good to hear that you went to Glasgow. Great to
Oh,
hear that your brother. I went to Dundee.
okay, nice. That's a good.
Great to hear that your brother is just going to finish up soon as an accountant. So from these businesses, you probably need a good accountant.
Yeah, I'm trying to rope him in full time. He's not a very he's as you can imagine an accountant, the brain they just sort of want everything. Some businesses maybe too chaotic for him. But
Yeah,
I've got a very good pitch come August time to try and try and
very
rope.
good. Good, good. That's great. So, do you read any sort of books on business and stuff like that there, or do you have like a favorite podcast you listen to that others might be able to tap into?
A lot actually, I think, like I said, because where I was in life 5, 6 years ago, it's not where I am now. And to get there was through a lot of books, through a lot of podcasts as well. So the podcast I would regularly listen to, Diary of a CEO
Yeah,
with Stephen Bartlett. So
yeah,
I regularly listen to that. And I've just listened to one, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's about it's a money guy growing a business from like zero to like 100K on. And I learned so much. Like I said, I mean, very much everything's a learning. If anyone can give me any advice, I'll take it.
yeah.
um, so I regularly listen to Diary or listen to his book. I found him a very big source of inspiration, motivation. Obviously, being a black person as well, I think his mom's Nigerian too. He's very young to have done what he's done.
Sure, sure.
Is very inspirational. Yeah, there's been quite a lot of books. One that can think off the top of my Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
I found that I think it's a good learning point when you start from zero. It just gives you a bit of understanding on money, on life. On I didn't understand how credit score worked. I had my credit score was this much off the lowest. Like I was in like absolute red. I
yeah.
just did not understand how it worked at all. So yeah, I think there's a lot of more than wisdom as well with Chris Wills. I listened to that, and a good one I would say would be David Goggins.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Yeah,
I listened to that book when I say listen because I go on audiobook quite a lot because
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't concentrate on reading. Yeah, I think when you're really down in life, sometimes you need an unfiltered kick up the backside, sort of
Yeah.
raw. And I know it wouldn't agree with everybody, but sometimes that is what you need. So I found those people quite motivating.
Fantastic. And all of those are great examples. And anybody who's listening in, if you haven't tapped into those resources before, make sure you get your hands on them or get your ears on them because as Hammy said, they're really good. They're really inspirational. So, Hammy, what does the future look like for Mama Bobo and yourself? And what do you see as some of the main challenges going forward?
Um, because I was about to say, if I tell you what I think the future looks, I'll probably get called crazy. But I feel like you've got to be delusional in your beliefs. So what with the grocery store, I ultimately want to get to the point where I'm creating the first African supermarket in Northern Ireland. We don't have.
Fantastic.
So I wanted to, because obviously we're in this business to make money, but you also want to serve your community. I want people moving over, because moving over here is very difficult. You're leaving all your family behind,
Yeah,
sort of better pastures. And one of the things that brings a lot of comfort to people is food. So that's one thing we've tried to do is just to be able to provide that for. So I want to create a business where people can come and get all the food they can get at a reasonable and affordable price.
sure.
So for the grocery store now, we're the first to now import things directly from Nigeria. So rather than
Brilliant.
going through wholesale, so that has allowed us to be able to reduce the prices of goods. Obviously, it's great for us to be able to reduce some margins and stuff
Yeah,
as well. So we want to do that more. So we're now moving towards wholesale as well. So we're supplying all the stores. So that's very, very new. And I'm still sort of figuring that out. But ultimately, eventually I want to get to the stage where we've got sort of a big wholesaling function, supplying businesses all over Northern Ireland. And the retail store is big because we're in a good problem to have where the store is a bit too small for us now. So
yeah,
we want
yeah,
to like expand that. And then for the restaurant is ultimately I want to get to the point where we're not put in a niche of they're a Nigerian restaurant. It's just a restaurant. It's gonna take time, obviously, but I want to get to the stage where it's just I'm going like I look at Zen and I emulate Zen, the
yeah,
restaurant
yeah.
a lot. Funnily enough, meeting the owner next week, my brother's his best friend's dad. So I look at we talk about inspiration in business. He's another one as well. Where when you mention Zen, no one's really mentioning Chinese restaurant or mentioning Asian
Sure,
restaurant. It's
sure.
just or you look at Belgium, and it's not necessarily Mexican, but it's just I'm going to Belgium. So
Yeah,
ultimately, that's where I want to get to. Where it's I'm not going to a Nigerian restaurant. I'm going to Mama Bobo's, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe. And I want to get into markets as well. So we should hopefully be doing the Belfast market in
Yes.
springtime.
Yeah.
Hopefully lead into like I want to get into the Christmas market as well and be around in different markets so that when people are going to the markets, you're getting not just Nigerian food, but you're getting Mama Bobo's food. Because there's a difference.
Brilliant.
There's a difference. We're not just a normal Nigerian food. We are the
Yeah.
best. For
Yeah.
sure.
Fantastic. That's excellent. So what's your advice to anyone who's thinking about going into business? What would you say to them?
No, number. Oh, you know what? I would say don't just do it. Like, don't have fear stop you. Like I said, don't you don't need to have all the right answers.
Yeah.
You really don't. You just need to have the first right answer. You've got an idea of a business, and I think so much in times in life you can be stopped by overthinking and overanalyzing. So you might say, "Oh, I want to start this business, so now I need to think through like what's my offerings going to be, who am I?" And you've got plan upon plan. You watch YouTube after YouTube, you watch podcast after podcast.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will start because you will get people. Whereas when I started the restaurant, I had the idea in April, end of April. The
Yeah.
restaurant was open in August, and sometimes I think, God, if I had got more lessons, I wouldn't have made as many mistakes. But I think if I truly found out what it would take to run the restaurant, I probably would have been put off it. I
Yeah.
probably, if someone had told me your whole blood, sweat, and tears, you won't have a life for the next 1 year, I might be like, oh no, I wanna chill a bit. So I would say just don't let the whole landscape of it stop you.
Yeah.
Start with it and don't let that fear, and you've got to battle the fear. And then the second thing I would say is so many times I think when you do make the decision to start the business, I get it, I got it quite a lot where there's a lot of congratulations, well done, you've been great, and we were in newspapers and all of that. But none of that really moved me because that's really when the challenge starts. Everyone thinks the challenge is having the I'm gonna say balls or the strength to the courage to start the business. But when you actually start is when the challenge. Now you've got to do HR, you've got to do marketing, you've got to do so. Be prepared for that. You've got to be prepared that not every day is great, and there are some days you hate it. Like I think that's it's not all rosy. I feel like there's maybe been a lot of lies on social media to try and paint business as just being like, oh, you demean a 9 to 5 in business is great. Business is great, and I love it, but it is extremely challenging. It will test you
Yeah.
physically, but more importantly, it will push you completely mentally. But and I think that's why it's great because you learn a lot about yourself. You all of a sudden you've got a massive purpose, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I found that really, really helpful for me.
Fantastic. And again, really good shares. Really appreciate that. One of the reasons we're called Action Coach is because we promote people to take action. Like you said, people can spend forever making decisions, learning information, gathering all the stuff, but not actually take any action. So that's a real good piece of advice. So finally, then, what's if we could take the clock back, wind time back 10 years, what's the best piece of advice that you would give an 18-year-old Hammy?
An 18-year-old Harvey, oh, get out of the clubs, stop drinking so much.
Good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think well, under the umbrella of that, I think would be to build discipline a lot earlier. I feel like
Yeah.
I maybe, and it's probably a common misconception. I'm probably doing the things now that I should have been doing at 18, and I wish, of course, I'm not like say get out of the clubs. Obviously, like go out, enjoy yourself, and I did. I did great. I had a very great time at university, but I would have said sort of merge it with discipline a lot earlier, and not
Yeah.
just discipline, consistency. I think one thing I'm learning in this game is you don't need to be great. You don't need to be fantastic. That's probably another advice for people doing business. Like it's what when I listen to so many podcasts with all these top people, that's what I quickly learned. A lot of these people are just average people who did things every single day.
Yeah.
And those things every single day, they
That's right.
become great. And sometimes we think, oh, I can't do this business because I don't have accounting knowledge and I don't have this knowledge. And maybe that really stopped me as an 18-year-old. But if I just simply just being like, right, let me just do my best every single day and just be consistent every single day,
Yeah.
and consistent with with sleep, with nutrition, with exercising, things like that, who knows where I would have been at this point. And
Yeah.
because I knew as an 18-year-old, and especially when I was younger, not to big myself up, but I'd always had like natural intelligence and I'd always been destined for big things. And I think the pressure of that from everyone really stopped me. Everyone
Yeah.
expected me to go on to great things. Everyone really was like, you are gonna do amazing things, you're gonna do big. And I couldn't handle that pressure, and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
what probably led to me going out all the time drinking. I couldn't, because I was like, what if I fail? Everyone's expecting me to be this next big thing,
Yeah.
and the weight of that really weighed on me. So I would say to myself, it will all be okay. Don't feel that weight of pressure, and you're not going to fail. You can just try your best. So I think the last few years is the first time I think part of the weight has been lifted off me a little.
Super.
Yeah, and you try and just do your best.
Great. Great. Look, Hammy, fantastic to have you on the podcast today. Really appreciate all of your sharing, and it's been a real pleasure for me and for our community. And all we can do is say thank you and wish you every success going forwards.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.